seminar is for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Consult with your medical provider for medical advice or treatment. Although the presenters try to keep the information in this seminar as accurate and timely as possible, the speakers and Mather Hospital assume no duty to ensure the seminar is error-free. The speakers and Mather Hospital are not responsible or liable for any claim, loss, or damage resulting from you viewing this seminar. This
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our HealthyU Webinar Series. Today's topic is undieting your life. At any time during the presentation, please feel free to enter any questions you may have using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We will answer as many questions as we can within the time allotted once the presentation concludes. Your questions will always remain anonymous. Today's presenter is Barbara Brogleworth and Daphne Baldwin-Cornrich. All right, Barbara, I'll hand it off to you so you can share your slides.
Thank you. Thanks, Jonathan. And welcome, everybody. Okay, share. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep, we can see it.
You can, okay, good. Sorry, I had a little issue there. Speaking of technology glitches. Welcome everybody. As Jonathan mentioned, my name is Barbara. I'm one of the dietitians here in the Medical Weight Management Program. And Daphne and I are going to be presenting on how to achieve your best personal body weight and foster optimum health without dieting. We're also going to be speaking about our comprehensive medical weight management program that we've been offering here at Mather since 2013. We do not have any financial interest arrangements or any disclosures. And then we'll be discussing weight management, and I'm going to be using the terms obese and obesity. So I just want to mention, if you're sensitive to these terms, or if you have a history of an eating disorder, this content may not be appropriate for you. But you took the time to attend today, so we want to honor that by presenting what sometimes may sound like daunting information in a very respectable way. And in terms of our learning objectives, we'll be examining how things like heredity, activity level, and body composition influence a person's weight status, identify health problems that are associated with being overweight, and summarize strategies for losing weight. And that's when I'll turn it over to Daphne, and she'll be talking about our program. You know, your healthiest weight is the weight that you reach when you are living the healthiest life that you can enjoy. So keeping weight off long-term means liking the lifestyle that helped you lose weight in the first place. So in other words, instead of starving yourself or eating nothing but protein shakes and supplement snacks, making changes, small changes over time that you actually enjoy and want to stick with over the long haul is really what's going to help to maintain a healthy body weight for you. So I use the term healthy body weight, but what is a healthy body weight? Let's talk about what it's not. Healthy body weight is not what we weighed when we were in our 20s. It's not what the billion-dollar diet industry tells us it is. The diet industry relies on us to feel badly about ourselves, and they sell us diet solutions that are either unattainable or sustainable. And then when they don't work, their marketing strategy is to make us feel like we failed in some way. And quite honestly, they want the customers to constantly fail because that makes them feel like they need to go on another diet. The fact is, 95% of all diets fail. There was one statistic that was published by the Boston Medical Center, stated that an average of 45 million Americans go on a diet each year. There was another study from a British survey of 2,000 adults, and they concluded that the average person was going to try 126 fad diets in their lifetime. I don't know about you, but that begs the question to me, if diets actually worked, wouldn't they work the first time, right? So diet culture equates thinness with health. It shames us into believing that if we're in a bigger body, we're somehow broken. It leads to disordered eating, and it can begin as early as 10 years old. It promotes harmful substances. Very popular on TikTok right now. People are thinking that laxatives are a way to help them lose weight. That's very dangerous. for any population, but I think that it's really targeting, teenagers. So diet culture promotes these fad diets that are often too restrictive to follow for the long term, and they don't provide sustainable lifestyle habits. So getting back to the question about what is a healthy weight, successful weight management starts with accepting the body you were born with, right? I could do whatever I want, but I'm still going to be 5 foot tall and my legs are never going to get any longer, right? I have to accept that's the body that I was born with. But I can take steps to achieve a healthy weight that's within my body's limits. And that's going to change over a lifetime. Sometimes we're more capable of doing certain physical activities when we're in our 20s or 30s, and we have to adjust for that. But that's what maintaining a healthy weight and lifestyle is. It's one that helps us to stay healthy throughout our life, and it minimizes our risk of lifestyle diseases. So, how do we assess our weight? So, as clinicians, there are a couple of metrics that we use. And there's three key measures that are recommended by, let's say, the National Institute of Health. So they use body mass index, waist circumference, and then risk factors for diseases and conditions associated with obesity. So we know that BMI is not a perfect measure because it doesn't directly assess body fat. Muscle and bone are denser than fat. So you can have an athlete, I always think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who can have a really high BMI, but he's very healthy. He just is very muscular, and that muscular weighs more. So, that BMI is really just looking at an equation that assesses your height versus your weight. It doesn't take other things into consideration. But as clinicians, that's what we need to do. And these risk factors can make a huge difference. So some risk factors are high blood pressure, high cholesterol, so high LDL, so that's that little sticky, pesky cholesterol that we call the lousy or bad cholesterol, and having low HDL, that's the cholesterol that clears that LDL out, so we want to have more of the HDL. High triglycerides, high blood glucose, which is our blood sugar, a family history of premature heart disease, physical inactivity, and cigarette smoking. We also know that for people who do have a BMI greater than 25 and they have two or more of those risk factors, it's recommended by the National Institute of Health that they look to making lifestyle changes that may result in them losing weight. So, our weight status in this country is a public health issue that we unfairly hold individuals accountable for. Our society has a lot to do with our weight status, right? So if we look at our ancestors, they didn't worry about the same things that we worried about. They worried about communicable diseases, right? They worried about contagions. What's changed? Well, we're working more hours. We're more isolated even before the pandemic. We get very conflicting advice on nutrition, and we're heavily marketed to overconsume highly processed foods. And we know that food marketing is a powerful driver of ultra processed food consumption. And when you've got social media, literally putting it on your phone as you're driving past the fast food restaurant, it makes it even harder. Like, you may not have been thinking about that particular fast food, but then you drive by, you're like, maybe I'm a little hungry. You pull in. There's really subtle ways that these marketing tactics are pulling us in, and it's affecting our health overall. So we also have to look at the fact that our weight status is multifactorial, right? We just talked about our environmental and lifestyle factors, but we also have genetic factors. So to date, we know that there's 400 different genes that have been implicated in the causes of overweight or obesity. Genes that can contribute to how our appetite is affected, our satiety, our sense of fullness, the metabolism, food cravings, how fat is distributed on our body, and the tendency to use eating as a way to cope with stress. Then we've got some physiological factors, things like changes in our basal metabolic rate, hormones in particular. I know women who are postmenopausal really struggle, sleep quality, stress management. Those are all physiological factors that impact our weight status. And then behavioral, so eating hyperpalatable foods to relieve stress. And then gut health. So our microbiome may also impact the production of hunger hormones. You may have heard of one called ghrelin that's produced in our stomach, and that controls if we feel hungry or full. If we have an unhealthy gut microbiome because we're eating a lot of ultra processed foods, then that can increase some inflammatory markers, which can lead to weight gain in our metabolic status. Medications, we've got, several people, many people in the world that are on certain medications for whatever reason or another, whether it's, somebody may have debilitating anxiety. They need to be on that medication so that they can function and have a good quality of life. But that medication, one of the side effects could be that it either increases somebody's appetite or it makes it harder for them to lose weight. We have to take those things into account, right? And then, of course, injuries that limit our physical activity. I can't tell you how many people have come through our program that were in a car accident of no fault of their own. Now they have a debilitating injury that limits their physical activity, but they don't know how to adjust their diet for the reduced amount of physical activity. So we have to take all of these things into account. And then we have our overconsumption of hypercaloric food. So I'd like you guys to pay attention to my vocabulary for a second and notice that I'm not using good food, bad food, healthy food, unhealthy food. I'm saying, let's look at this objectively. We've got these hypercaloric food. What's a hypercaloric food? It's a food that has a lot of calories, but usually doesn't have a lot of nutrients, right? And it's usually found in these ultra processed foods, which lead to overeating and weight gain. So these hyper palatable foods, right? So hyper palatable means that these foods are literally appeal to the reward centers of our brain and they promote our overconsumption. So if you see in this picture on the right, this is something that's called a functional MRI. And a functional MRI allows clinicians to evaluate somebody's brain behavior if they show them a picture of a food, of their favorite food, or in some cases they actually feed that food to them, and then they watch how those areas of the brain light up. Now the problem is that, we used this years ago to figure out, how we could help people, avoid these foods if they were trigger foods for them, right? But the food industry has since used these functional MRIs to tweak their foods to make them so that it's the perfect amount of sugar, salt, and fat so that we want to have more. And these foods are also meltable. What does that mean? It means it doesn't stay on your tongue very long. Ever eat a Cheeto, right? Cheeto's gone, it melts in your mouth, then you want another one, then you want another one. A lot of these foods are designed to melt that way to make you want to go back for more. And so research shows that people tend to eat processed food a lot faster. And when they do, they overconsume an additional 500 calories. So let's think about that meltable quality, right? So if we were to compare and contrast, let's say 500 calories worth of apples, that might be, let's say, 3 Honeycrisp apples, right? Who could eat, even a Honeycrisp apple, as delicious as it is, who could eat 3 of them? It's too filling. Why? Because it has fiber. It's got a lot of volume. It's got a high water content. Of course, it has all those wonderful nutrients in it too. But it's harder to overconsume that food that came from nature in its whole form. But if you take a piece of chocolate cake, the equivalent of 500 calories, if you're like me, I could eat one and then go back for a second piece, right? Because that food, it doesn't have the fiber in it. It's not going to stay in my belly very long, so it's not going to keep me full, and I can overeat that very, very easily. So we just want to make people aware that these foods exist and that there's a marketing machine behind it that drives us to overconsume. And the reason I think this message is so important is because I feel like we're going back to my beginning slides, thinking about the diet industry, we're so shamed if we're in a larger body. And we're so much more than that. Now, there are some medical complications of being overweight. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time belaboring this because I think we all kind of know. We know it can cause issues with our joints. We know that inflammation uncontrolled over time can lead to cancer. It can lead to a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, all things that are very, very important to address. But the good news here is that we don't have to lose quite as much as society tells us we have to in order to be healthy. right? So let's take someone with, let's take the condition diabetes. So to prevent it, losing just 5 to 10% of our body weight lowers our risk of developing diabetes by 58%. And then to manage it, if you have prediabetes or if you have type 2 diabetes, losing just 5 to 10% of our body weight can help to improve our blood sugar numbers. So it can be very powerful. And then in terms of heart health, so losing just 10 pounds can help us to manage our high blood pressure. We know that being overweight puts extra strain on the heart, increasing the risk for developing high blood pressure and damaging our blood vessels. And then our joints, research shows that losing just 10 pounds would relieve 40 pounds of pressure from our knees. So again, we're not looking at ginormous numbers here. So where do we start? So as we just learned, there's many factors that contribute to our weight status. Some are within our control, while others are not. I always say to our patients, we can't control the number on the scale. We just can't. But what we can control are the behaviors that we do. We are what we consistently do, right? Excellence is not a single act, it's a habit. So the key to making these long-term weight loss, the key to long-term weight loss, I should say, is making these small changes over time. And there's three main aspects we can focus on now. Look, we have a whole program where we do 10 weeks of classes and we really break it down. But I just want to kind of go through a few slides here to show what kinds of things can have an effect on almost immediately. So according to the National Institute of Health, changing up these three areas of our life can lead to a healthy weight. If we follow a healthy diet and if we're overweight, just by reducing our daily intake by 500 calories can lead to weight loss. And that's because there's 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. So if we want to lose a pound of fat a week, reduce the caloric intake by 500 calories a day, or we could split that up and reduce it by 250 and then burn off an additional 250 with increasing our physical activity. So this combination of a reduced calorie diet and increased physical activity is recommended because in addition to weight loss, it can result in decreases in abdominal fat and also increase our physical fitness. So what habits would we be talking about? Well, we've got personal accountability, portion control, consuming nutrient-dense foods, engaging in regular physical activity, getting adequate sleep, practicing mindfulness, and hydration. So when I first started here back in 2016, that word accountability, I always felt like I was pointing my finger. It's like, oh, I don't like saying that word to people. But really, personal accountability is just an obligation or a willingness to accept responsibility for your own actions. And it's about deciding on a course of action or a goal and creating a framework that holds you to account, ensuring that you're staying consistent, right? So some examples might be weighing or measuring yourself on a weekly basis, recruiting a friend or a family member to arrange to check in with them regularly, keeping a food diary. Some people, we have an app here that we use for our patients, but there's other apps online like MyFitnessPal. Or find or set up a support group. All those are examples of holding yourself accountable to a particular goal that you have. And then nutrition, just trying to make nutrient-dense choices, let's say 80% of the time, right? Limit the consumption of foods that are higher in calories and lower in nutrients. Focus on these small changes on a daily basis until they become a habit, and trust the process and remind yourself that it's a journey, not a destination. And so you can see on this plate here, we've got whole grains, we've got lean protein, we've got healthy fat, and we've got vegetables. So, it's not to say that we can't have fun foods, and we don't preach to people to take a whole bunch of things out of their diet. If people are looking for assistance, we help them tweak what they're doing. Hydration, so staying hydrated can increase calorie burn, reduce overall caloric intake, and promote fat loss. Now, when I talk about hydration, I am very clear to tell patients, I never want you drinking a full glass of water because you're hungry and you don't want to eat a meal. What we really try to emphasize is teaching people how to identify their hunger and fullness cues using things like mindfulness, right? And is it true that our brains can mistake hunger for for thirst. That is very true. So if you're mildly dehydrated, your brain may say, oh, you really need something to eat. That's a good way to check in with yourself and say, where am I with my hydration status today? But in no way do we recommend people to just drink water and not eat food. So I talked a little bit about mindfulness. So being aware of the foods you're choosing to eat, how much, right? So portion control counts. How much are you eating of that food? Why you're eating that food? Am I genuinely hungry, or maybe I'm bored, or maybe I'm stressed? If it's out of hunger, we say enjoy the food. But if it's an environmental influence, or just because, just take a moment and make a conscious decision. Again, we're not saying don't do it, but just be aware of what it is that you're doing. And then sleep. So there has been a lot of research that shows a link between sleep deprivation and weight gain. When people are sleep deprived, it causes our cortisol levels to go up. And so there's this interaction that happens between our hunger and fullness hormones and this cortisol. So ghrelin is the hormone that I mentioned earlier that's responsible for us feeling hungry. And when we don't get enough sleep, the ghrelin level goes up. And studies show that sleeping less than 8 hours a day increases our ghrelin level. I like to point out here, not everybody's an 8 hour a night sleeper. And so what I like to say is whatever is normal for you, because we're not shaming people into, that we don't want people running out to take sleeping pills because they're not getting 8 hours. It's if you feel rested in the morning, right? But if you don't, and this makes me think of my shift workers, right? People that are forcing themselves to stay up throughout the night. The brain is saying, look, I only run on glucose, right? I only run on sugar. So if you're going to keep me up, then I'm going to demand that you give me a refined carbohydrate or sugar. That's its response. Now, the other thing that gets a little out of whack is leptin. That's the hormone that tells the brain to stop eating. Sleep deprivation increases the leptin level. So if you see on the bottom, we've got an increase in ghrelin, an increase in cortisol, a decrease in leptin can equal an increase in our weight. So how do we adopt a healthy eating plan? Start simple with My Plate from the USDA. The benefits of eating this, can add up over time. So you can see what I like about it is it kind of gives us some portion ranges to look for, right? So, and this changes based on somebody's caloric level, right? So if I have somebody that's following a, 12 or 1500 calorie diet, then these portion sizes may be adjusted. This is based on a 2000 calorie diet because that's what the USDA uses. That's what we use for the food label. That's where the dietary guidelines for Americans come from. So here we've got, 1.5 cups of fruit, and then we've got our examples. Doesn't have to be perfect, guys. Can be frozen, can be dried. We don't usually recommend fruit juice. I should probably take that off. But it doesn't have to be, if you can get fruit in season, that's great. Aiming for 2 cups of vegetables. Again, cooked, canned, frozen, salad, greens, it's all good. Grains, aiming for about 5 ounces a day, and looking at the portion size, right? That's what's specific. So I always tell my patients, there's nothing wrong with whole grains. It's just that grains and starches tend to have a lot more calories for a much smaller amount than what we're accustomed to eating. So if you look here, 1 ounce of bread, 1 ounce of grains is going to be 1 slice of bread, 1 ounce of ready to eat cereal, or half a cup of cooked rice, pasta, or let's say oatmeal. And then our protein, so this is just showing what the exchanges are. So like aiming for about 5 ounces a day is what the recommendation is. This could be 1 ounce of seafood, lean meat, or poultry would be the equivalent to an egg, tablespoon of peanut butter, quarter cup of cooked beans, or half an ounce, half a cup would be a lot, half an ounce of nuts. And then dairy, if you tolerate dairy and you have dairy, it's a very efficient way to get our calcium and vitamin D. And so it just gives us our exchanges here, either a cup of milk, a cup of lactose-free milk, a cup of fortified soy milk or yogurt, or 1.5 ounce of hard cheese. So some people find that they need to adjust their shopping habits, eating before you go grocery shopping so you don't go hungry. I think we all kind of know that. Making a list before we go so we have a plan. Try to choose a checkout line without a candy display. Good luck with that one. And maybe even, trying something new, a new vegetable, a new fruit, jicama, fava beans, plantains. We all get kind of stuck in our rut. Sometimes this can just change things up and make it so that it's not boring. And then portion distortion, right? So again, one of these insidious changes that has happened right under our noses over time. So you can see going from the 1960s to 2009, how we went from consuming about 800 calories to about 1900 calories in one plate. So I had one patient in our medical weight management program. When I showed the slide, she said, "Oh my God, that is so true." She said, "When I went shopping for a dishwasher, my plates were so big that I had to bring them with me because I couldn't find a dishwasher to accommodate how big the plates were." So how do we control our portion sizes? Well, we can share an entree. If the entrees are too large, we can choose an appetizer or a side dish. We can opt not to have seconds. We can opt to share desserts. We could eat sweet foods in small amounts. We can cut or share high calorie foods like cheese and chocolate into smaller pieces, eat off of smaller plates, and maybe even skip the buffet. So the portion size is actually the amount of food or drink a person chooses to eat at one time. If we want to look back and see what are those appropriate serving sizes. And then changing the way we prepare our foods, right? Cut back on those added fats or oils, maybe grill, steam, or bake instead of fry. Flavor the foods with herbs and spices instead of relying on fat and butter for flavor. Not that those things can't exist, because they should, because they do extend those flavors, but not relying solely on them. Choosing low fat, sour cream, mayo, and sauces. Serve several whole grain foods, maybe topping off your berries with your favorite fruit. And then we'd be remiss if we didn't mention physical activity. So ways to incorporate it in, maybe start walking whenever possible, maybe walk instead of drive whenever you can, taking the stairs instead of the escalator or the elevator, going for a half-hour walk instead of watching TV. Maybe even moving more in our home, maybe doing our own yard work when we can, doing our own housework when we can. Maybe if we can't do that, doing calf raises when we're brushing our teeth, just figuring out ways to increase the amount of movement that we have during the day. And if we have time, join an exercise group, use exercise videos at home if you want, maybe take up a dance class. So a lot of different ways. Our bodies were meant to move, but from an evolutionary standpoint, because we were always moving all throughout our evolutionary history, our bodies are really saying, "Oh, we kind of want to rest." It kind of takes a little bit more motivation to get our bodies moving. And that's because the way society is set up, we're not doing all those natural movements that we were doing. We're not getting water from the well and carrying it back anymore. So now we have to figure out ways to, incorporate activities that can simulate that to remain healthy throughout our lifetime. So practical tips: eating a balanced meal before going to work. And when we say balanced, we mean having a protein, a high fiber starch, half your plate vegetables, get a healthy fat in there. Choose light snacks, fruits, vegetables, protein like nuts, eggs, yogurt, or tuna, and salads that can increase your energy during your shift or during your day. When possible, take breaks to eat your snacks mindfully if you can. And I just want to take a second, because Daphne and I work in a very frenetic environment. It's a very busy clinic that we have here, right? So there are days when we can't necessarily eat our food, like, taking taking into account where the food came from and how it feels in our mouth and all this satiety. That's not always possible. So when I say eating our snacks mindfully, in my world, sometimes that means I have a hard-boiled egg sitting in my bag, or I have a little bit of cottage cheese in there that's a go-to, that I know is going to give me a decent amount of fat, a decent amount of protein, to keep me satisfied so I don't hit my next meal where I'm ravenously hungry. That's part of how we build mindfulness into our day. So we're thinking progress, not perfection here. Keeping ourselves hydrated with water, avoiding our high fat, high sugar foods, and most importantly, trying to avoid long periods without eating, because that can lead to overeating. So some practical tips rather. Grab and go snacks. Overnight oats are great. A lot of staying power. You can add protein powder to it to give you more satiety. Vegetable sticks or whole wheat pita with hummus are some examples. Rye crisp breads with apple slices topped with nut butter, maybe a protein bar, nuts with a piece of fruit, even a soup that's containing some vegetables or lentils, and incorporating our healthy fats and foods that are high in protein or fiber that's really what's going to keep us fuller longer. So our lean meats, our fish, our cottage cheese, our eggs, nuts, seeds, avocado, etc. These things are either higher in protein or higher in fiber that are going to promote satiety over the long term. So that's my part of the presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Daphne now, and she can introduce herself and then talk about our program. So let me unshare here. Okay, Jonathan, it's all yours.
Thank you, Barbara, for the excellent presentation. We're so fortunate to have Barbara teaching our classes. I just want to say, as you can see, she's so passionate about our program and also to provide the best education and support to all our patients. So my name is Daphne. I'm also one of the dietitians in the medical management program. I just want to explain our program to everybody, that one of the biggest differentiators between our program and others is our dedication to patient-centered care. We prioritize our patients' unique needs, values, and preferences. We listen to them, educate them on their dietary concerns, provide emotional support, and create a compassionate environment where everyone feels empowered to make decisions on their own. We see our patients as members of our community and by extension as part of the Mather family. Our classes are designed to build awareness around how our choices and environment impact our behaviors and how we can take back control. Yep. So this is a beautiful picture of one of our medical weight management people that finished, and I did a beautiful review of our program. And we just wanted to kind of go over what we are and what we're not. And what we are is a medically supervised weight loss program that is a joint effort between a patient and healthcare professionals. We emphasize lifestyle change based upon the principles of the Mediterranean meal plan. We're not about rapid weight loss, dietary supplements, eating the same thing every day, avoiding carbs or avoiding any type of food group. And we're not about rigid menus. Thank you. So our vision and our mission. I would like to also say our manager of operations of our department, her name is Nicole Jepanotis, who's also a registered dietitian. And it was her vision and her passion over a decade ago that she developed the medical weight management program. And she put so much emphasis. We're so proud of her, and we have such a feeling for all our patients that started over a decade ago, and a beautiful role model that we have to keep this program running and providing the best care. So we've been serving the community from 2014 to 24. We've helped over 850 community members lose weight and learn long-term behavior change. We're very focused on evidence-based research, and that's why our program focuses on the Mediterranean meal plan, which incorporates good dietary protein, healthy fats, and moderate exercise. The Mediterranean diet has over 50 years of research. It's the perfect thing for everyone to really do, is because there's so much evidence how it can help in so many, not only losing weight, but many health disorders. We also follow the National Weight Registry, the National Institute of Health and Academy of Nutrition and Dietetic Guidelines for weight loss. Our target population includes those with a BMI greater than 30, with or without comorbidities, or those with a BMI of 27 to 30 with comorbidities. And the comorbidities would be dyslipidemia, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea. So again, the centerpiece of our weight loss program revolves around personalized medical nutrition therapy. On average, our patients lose about 7 to 10% of total body weight. At the initial visit, all patients undergo a comprehensive assessment with our physician and also with the registered dietitian. We collect the following information to develop a personalized weight loss program, because we want to meet each individual where they're at. So we do take weight, height. We also do blood work, or if you had recent blood work that you bring with you, we need to comprehensive metabolic and lipid panels. We also get your weight history, eating habits, medication review, past medical history, and this way we're able to individualize that nutrition plan. And as Barbara said, we start small with small changes, would become lifestyle changes. So we try to meet the person where they're at. Our program components, we have our weekly nutrition education for 10 weeks, which we're going to go more in detail, behavior modification, activity. Our program, again, is physician supervised. I know there's a big surge with people being interested in weight loss medication, and the weight loss medications helps augment weight loss, but it's really a conversation when you come and speak with the physician. So based on that, the physician's assessment, if you should be on weight loss medication. And the group classes are there to, like Barbara was saying, we're not focusing on the scale as much. We want you to change your behaviors, which in turn will help for lifestyle change and to lose some weight and be at that your healthy you, where you feel healthy and can sustain. So we have a structured 10-week instructor-led education program delivered by Barbara. So very fortunate. So we have an 11 o'clock class and a 6 o'clock class that's given on Wednesday. We went virtual during COVID, and so now we have this hybrid class, this virtual or in person, whatever you choose. And we have nutrition, cognitive, and behavior classes to promote that sustainable management. You get weekly emails with education material. Also, Barbara does a fantastic job because we don't want to focus on the scale. That in the beginning of the class, we talk about what are our people in the class is not scale victories. Oh, I drank another cup of water. Oh, for the first time I walked 5 minutes. I never really walk at all. It could be, I looked at a food label. These are all non-scale victories. This all contributes to improving your health and also being mindful. So we really appreciate that in the beginning of the class. And also Barbara does an excellent job as explaining, as you could see, the science behind the food we put in our body. So it's not just about calories, it's the quality of nutrition, and we're worth it. So we're very fortunate to have Barbara is very passionate about her education. So we're very thankful for her. And we can go to the next one. So we have weekly rotating class schedule. So there's 10 classes. So you could start the program and it could be your first class could be someone's fifth. So the classes continue to rotate. So we have a class on sustainable habits, habit formation and goal setting, physical activity and lifestyle behavior, triggers, reinforcers, mindful eating, which is a big food label, and portion distortion, which Barbara spoke about. A whole presentation on the Mediterranean meal plan. Barbara's favorite, fiber and probiotics, which I'm sure everybody's hearing a lot about the microbiome and how important it is with regards not only just to our gut, but to our brain, to our preventing other types of diseases. So it's a very research is coming out all the time about the importance of our microbiome, and also dining out and alcohol and those bite that none of us counts as eating. So those are
everybody else's favorite class, right, Jeff?
The bite, yes. Thank you. And at the end of our program, there is a follow-up, and also follow-up with the physician. We also do a metabolic analysis, and we also have a maintenance program. I'm going to go into more detail about that. Okay, so the metabolic testing measures an individual metabolic rate by determining their actual, resting energy expenditure, namely the amount of calories burned while in the resting state. It does this by measuring oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange, a process called indirect calorimetry. This will provide additional information regarding estimated calories burned with exercise, but also in your daily activity. It also shows us what your metabolism is. Is it low? Is it normal? Is it above normal? And even if it's low, we can make suggestions. How do we increase that metabolism? Maybe some resistant bands, maybe small weights, that will help build up our muscle, that will help with our energy, the calories that we burn. And the next slide, please. So with the beginning of the program, you have 12 weeks with the medical weight management program. And that again is going to be your assessment, your 10 classes, and the metabolic analysis, the follow-up. And we also meet people halfway. We made a halfway appointment too, because we know that everybody has different concerns and issues. And while the classes are fantastic and the people are so supportive, sometimes people might want to say things one-on-one. So we have this halfway appointment that's part of the cost. It's already there. So, and we're always a phone call away if anybody needs us. So anyway, when the program ends, when you're getting your metabolic analysis, we'll talk about our maintenance program. And as most of us know, maintaining weight loss is arguably just as hard or not harder than losing weight in the first place. And research has shown that many people who lose weight eventually regain the weight that they have lost. So long-term weight maintenance programs provide support, accountability, and has been shown to be a helpful tool for successful maintainers. So we have a maintenance program that's $80. And for that $80, it's 2 classes per month. So it lasts for 16 weeks. So it gives us another 4 months. And this is very helpful. We've had people join, when I say multiple times, 6 times, 7 times.
This is 2017, right?
Yep. And people love it because they love the accountability, they love the education, they love the people in the classes. And again, we try so hard because we really do love our patients and want everyone to get to where they want to be for the healthy you that you want to be. Our program fee for the medical weight management program is a $220 out-of-pocket program. It's not covered by insurance. However, if you add everything that you get in the program, a nutrition assessment, the 10 classes are taught by registered dietitians, also trained in behavior and certified in behavior change, the midway appointment, the follow-up, the metabolic analysis, it's very reasonable. But just want to let you know that's a $220 out-of-pocket program fee. And that's that part. These are little pictures of us. So, you know me, you met Barbara. Danielle does a lot of our assessments for the people that join the program, our nutrition assessments. We all jump in for everything. Barbara does majority of the classes. I do some maintenance. Danielle does some maintenance. Donna is our administrative support and tech guru. Thank God for Donna. She is such an integral part of our program. She is so good with the patients. She's so good at helping the virtual. Those of us aren't the highest tech, I will admit myself. I have to talk through it a lot, but Donna's amazing. She does amazing with recipes and recipe books. So we're very thankful for her. So we're very lucky to have such a wonderful team. It's like our medical weight management family with our patients. So if you want to learn more, you can call us at 631-686-2513. We're in the Medical Arts Building at Mather Hospital. And does anyone have any questions regarding the program?
Awesome. Thank you so much for that presentation. It was fantastic. Yes, if anybody has any questions, you can enter them in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. I see we have a few already.
Okay.
Let's see. Will we get a recording of this webinar? Yes, you will get a recording of the webinar. What is the best sugar substitute for a diabetic?
Best sugar substitute for a diabetic. There's Truvia, I would say. I think
there's so many.
The more natural, there's so many that, thank you, Barbara. There's so many, but if you wanted to go, I would say that Truvia. The ones with the less ingredients in it. But if you did, Splenda is fine. But they're finding a lot of information about the substitutes, the sugar substitutes that are coming out. Again, more research. Things change all the time. That's the exciting thing about nutrition. The most frustrating thing about nutrition right, Barbara? The one thing that something was, this is the best thing to do. 2 years later, nah, it wasn't so good. You know, eggs are terrible. No, you can have eggs even if you're cold. So it's always, I would just say the more natural is probably the better. But being able to have something that you like, that you're tolerating well, and you're not getting the added sugars, you know, you have to,
and if you're
there
not
has to be
having
a balance.
in moderation,
Yes.
monk fruit is another
Yes.
non-nutritive sweetener that's out there.
Did you eat too much fruit? I'm talking about tangerines, apples, pears, etc.
Does this be if you have diabetes or in
No,
general?
this is just a question. Just in general.
Well, fruit, again, like Barbara was talking about before, you always want to look at portions, but you're not going to go wrong having an apple or a pear. You know, 10 grapes is a serving of grapes, 8 to 10 grapes. So if you have like, you know, 100, that's a lot of servings. So it's really, yeah, I wouldn't worry about if you have diabetes, then you have to be careful, because even though it's natural sugar, you wouldn't want to overdo it. So usually it's about 2 fruits a day, and you want to have the whole fruit because that fiber is going to slow down the rise in blood sugar. So it's always better to have the whole fruit rather than broken, you know, like it's better to have the apple than the applesauce. It's better to have the applesauce than the apple juice, because it's almost like digestion happening. So your blood sugar is going to go up quicker. You're not going to, and it's going to make you hungrier. So you always want to balance that, especially if you have
pair it with a protein with a little bit of fat, you know, like peanut butter or a cheese stick or something like that.
Better to have hummus on an apple and a pear rather than the chips, you know, and it's going to fill you up.
Next question. What is the milk to use in coffee for diabetics?
The milk to use in coffee for diabetics? I would say 2% milk's a good choice.
If you have a plant-based milk, then use one that doesn't have added sugar.
Or added carbs, because you could use something that might have too many carbs in it, like oatmeal. Oat milk sometimes has a lot of carbs.
Next question. Is there
when you say a lot of carbs,
like,
Jack, they should be keeping it to under 15 grams, right?
Of sugar.
Of sugar.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Is there a list of classes I can join?
Is there, I'm sorry?
Is there a list of classes I can join?
Well, the first, if you're interested, is to call the office and talk to either Barbara, myself, Danielle. We'll give you the overview of the program again and set up a consult with the doctor and also with nutrition, like a nutrition consult and a consult with one of our doctors. And just so you know, the doctor, there would be whatever you pay for your co-payment, there would be a fee for the doctor visit also. So we would set that all up and get you know, your insurance and verify everything. So that would be the first step.
Okay, next question. I noticed they suggested soy milk. I was told soy is not good for women. How about almond milk?
Barbara, you want to speak to that? Yes, yes, you can speak to this.
So soy, actually, there is nothing unhealthy about soy milk or tofu, edamame. There were some studies that were done in the 90s that have since been debunked, but it has not gotten out of the ether. So highly processed soy products that are in a lot of the hyper processed foods, like some of those hyper processed veggie burgers, that's a different story. But soy milk is actually a complete protein, meaning it has all the essential amino acids. So it's a decent amount of protein. It can keep you fuller a little bit longer. If you like soy milk, that's fine. Almond milk, on the other hand, doesn't have a lot of protein. So unless it's fortified with protein and also vitamin D and calcium, it may not be a better choice for you. Having said that, if you prefer the taste of almond milk over soy milk, and that's what you'd like to drink, just look for one that has that's fortified with protein and calcium and vitamin D.
Next question. $220 out of pocket is due at initial appointment?
Well, usually after you have your consult and you decide you want to do the program, then they'll collect the money after the consult, the $220, after your nutrition consult. We want to make sure that this is the program for everyone that joins. So we do the consult first, and then you would pay for the program.
Okay. Next question. What do you think about Wagave? Spoke to a physician. I lost 90 pounds, maintained 2 years, need 40 pounds more. Weight has stabilized and need to get back on track.
Mm-hmm. So you were on Wegovy?
Yes.
And then did you stop?
I don't know. Let's see. They did not say.
Okay. Well, the one thing with the weight loss medication, it's highly recommended, even though the GLP-1s like a Wegovy, you can lose weight, but if you don't change behaviors, and that's why we promote also when people on weight loss medication, it's very highly recommended that they're in a medical weight management program to help people, not only just because of helping with the appetite with the weight loss medication, but also learning how to eat healthy. And we want people, even though you might not be as hungry, we want to make sure that people are having that nutrient-dense food, because you have a lot of people that are on medication, they're losing weight, they're not as hungry, or they might be eating more carbs and not getting protein in. So it's highly recommended that people that do take weight loss medication, we recommend it highly that they're in a medical weight management program. So because that's going to help with the behavior change for the long haul, changing behaviors, and the medication is great to augment weight loss. But sometimes if you go off it without changing your behaviors, the weight can come back. Barbie, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think I would say too that, some people have said when they go off of the weight loss medication, if one of their issues is that they're constantly thinking about food and they're constantly craving, those cravings can come back if they're not on the medication. So they may need to be on those medications for a longer period of time to sustain weight loss. And the evidence is still so new. We don't know how long people need to be on them. But one of the things that we're hearing from physicians is that similar to somebody being on a medication for high blood pressure or being on a medication for diabetes, we don't say, oh, once your blood sugar is under control, come off the medication. That may be the same case if somebody's metabolism is dysregulated in some way and this weight loss medication like Wegovy is helping. I don't know if that helps answer his question or her question.
It's helpful.
Okay, next question. How is this different from the PATH program Northwell offers?
Barbara, do you know? I know
We don't have a lot of experience with the PATH program. From what I understand, this is just from hearsay, it's not as comprehensive. So you can say, oh, I just want to take a class on mindfulness, but you don't get the full breadth of the entire program. And going back to what Daphne said about being a key differentiator, I think our commitment to our patients, if you ask any of our patients, ask any of our maintenance patients that have been coming to us since 2017, 2018, it's that soft skill that we offer. It's that being present with our patients and giving them the time that they need and the attention that they need when they need it. That's what I can say, not knowing too much about the PATH program.
Next question. How does one sign up, and does insurance cover doctor and lab fees?
The doctor would be the co-payment, so based on your insurance, whatever you pay for your co-payment to see a doctor. The lab fees, that would be your insurance. And the way to sign up is to call us and schedule. We would talk to, again, Barbara, myself, Danielle, Donna, and we would get the information that we would need and go from there and set up consults if the person qualifies.
Do you mind just repeating the phone number and the hours that you guys are available to talk?
Sure. So the phone number is 631-686-2513. That's our main desk with Donna. And that's the best number to call because she knows, like, sometimes we're not here or we're in the hospital or somewhere else. So she knows where one of us would be to help patient. And what time was a good time to call when the classes are? I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question.
Or I guess the question here, what hours are your offices open?
So on Monday, 7:30 till about 4:30. Tuesday's a longer day, 7:30 to 7-ish. Wednesday,
About the same, 7:30 to 7, Thursday.
7:30 to 7, Thursday, 7:30 to 7.
Right. So we're here
Friday's a
pretty
little short. Friday's 7:30 to like 4-ish, about.
Awesome.
But
If I was
that
in the
was
program 6 years ago, would I be able to join the maintenance program now?
Oh, if you were in the program, yes, you could.
Yes.
And some people rejoin, if you rejoin the medical weight management program, like the weekly, it'd be $120 if you rejoin. But you can definitely join maintenance at any time if you finish the medical weight management program.
I am at my goal weight. Is it the same program if I just need help maintaining?
Well, that would be the maintenance part.
Yes.
And looks like the last question here, do classes start on a certain date or can you join at any time and just join in on the classes?
Yes, it's a rotating schedule. So your first class could be someone's 9th class. So it keeps rotating because this is like, how would I say, like the backbone of everything is these 10 classes. It's really structured. We find these are the most important topics. And then we segue with the maintenance. We have to change it up a little to make it interesting and feed off what we, no pun intended, feed off what everybody learned during the medical weight management classes. It's a lot, but we really pride ourselves in providing the best education and support.
And I think the thing that's fun about the maintenance program is, and for us is a little bit challenging because we have patients that keep rejoining, we have to like keep coming up with fresh material. So whatever's going on, whatever people are talking about, you know, what trends, what nutrition trends, what kinds of things people have questions about. So we're not always just rehashing the same classes that we do in the medical weight management. This month we're talking about National Nutrition Month. We're going to be talking about Nutrition 101. So lots of different topics that we cover in the maintenance program. Keep it interesting.
And to add what Barbara was saying, even the maintenance class, we asked, you know, the patients in maintenance, is there anything that you're really interested that you'd like us to present? And they have great ideas. So they're also, you know, I would really like to know about, you know, certain activity I could do at home. You know, it could be anything, but or how to make different recipes. They just have so many great ideas. And that's another great thing about the class and the classes is that everybody, you know, will say, you know what I tried? Everyone supports each other. So we're very fortunate that the patients that are in our classes are so supportive to each other. They're amazing.
It's very collaborative.
Awesome. Well, that was the last question. So I just wanted to thank you both for your amazing presentation and thank you everybody for joining. If you have any additional questions that come up later in the day, you can email them off at matherhospital@northwell.edu. And if you'd like to view past HealthyU webinars, you can view them at www.matherhospital.org/HealthyU. Thank you, Barbara and Daphne, so much. It was such a great presentation, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you, Jonathan, for all your help as always.
Of course. Bye, everybody.